You're going to want to watch this before and after video. So if you stutter, stammer, struggle with negatively anticipating words, letters, phrases, sounds, speak too fast, whatever way you struggle with your speech, you're going to want to watch this video. This is a recent video that I did with a client that I've been working with for around a month now. And he's going to share a story. But before that, you're going to see how he spoke just a few weeks ago, and then you're going to see how he speaks now. So I'll go ahead and let you watch the video. So go ahead, man.
No, no. Um, uh, so I've been watching you for years, and have tried to 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 uh, 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 put the things into practice, right? But it was never um like it wasn't uh, 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 super consistent, right? So I thought that I would get get help from the source, you know. So yeah.
Good, good.
Okay. Um, so I work at it was gonna take a while, you know, because my speech, but oh, you're used to it, I'm pretty sure. Um,
Yeah,
um, so so I work at uh, 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 uh I work at um I work at Maxar um as a as a um uh, uh, um uh, uh, um uh, technician, um and and I um I live in Santa Clara, California.
all right,
Yeah.
cool. Now, do you do you have to speak a lot, or do you try to limit how much you speak during the day?
Um um uh, uh um uh, uh um uh, uh um uh, uh so I have to speak, but I do like um uh uh um uh um try to hide it, you know, hide the way I speak. Um and yeah, it's it's gone pretty bad, you know.
Okay,
Um
okay.
yeah.
I speak with ease now, so I feel exponentially more confident than I was before. Just when I would just be a wallflower before. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. So as well as making throughout the last week, I've been making a lot more phone calls, receiving phone calls with a welcoming attitude, because um, I can speak well now, and my family is as a whole is just wowed by it. They're like, how the heck did this happen? So
Wow.
I I cannot stop thanking you, for this program. Like it's insane.
Okay, good. So, thank you, Jacob, for being willing to share with us your successes and your experiences. Let's go back a little bit. I believe that you said that you had enrolled in the course almost a decade ago. Is that correct? Like, did I have that right? Or
That is correct. I enrolled when I was a freshman in high school
wow.
and bought the program. I bought the self-study version of the program with no private
Mm.
coaching or whatever. And I saw results within two to 3 weeks. I got into the rhythm of doing the program daily for the appointed amount of time. And it was great. It was working wonders, but then I got lazy because I was so fluent. I was like, I don't really need this anymore. I'm fluent now. And then within a matter of, like 3 or 4 days, I was back to where I was,
Okay.
you know. And I don't know why I didn't go back to it. I think the reason I didn't go back to it at that young age was just I was just too lazy to do it, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, some people might be thinking, oh, so it only gives you temporary results. So it worked, and then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, you were back to where you started.
Mhm.
Uh, do you feel like that was the case, where it only gave you temporary results, or was there more to it than that?
No, so even back then, I remember you saying in your videos that neurons that fire together wire together, right?
Hmm.
So I knew of the concept of, okay, if you do this for an extended amount of time, say 8 months to a year, it can become permanent. But at that
Hmm.
point, I was just too lazy to keep grinding and do it every day until I reached that point of permanent fluency, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Now, fast forward up to the last month or two. What
Mhm.
prompted you to get in touch with me to work with me privately?
What prompted me to take action at this point in my life is that, I'm in my mid 20s, I'm reaching a point in my life where I'm surrounded by people that sound professional. I'm surrounded by my family, I'm surrounded by friends, and and if there's one thing to life that really means something, it's a connection to people. And as a stutterer, that's your main insecurity, is that you just cannot connect with people no matter what, right? And I've heard in my life, from family and friends, oh, you can just text this person, you can just write this person. But there's like a magic that goes on in conversations that you just can't have in writing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Just adds a fullness to life that I would otherwise not have without, fluent speech, right?
Yeah. So you started working with me, and how long did it take you to get to the level of fluency you are now? And hopefully we'll be able to somehow let people know how you were when we started. Like,
Yeah,
but but
yeah.
you and I can talk about that a little later. But
Uh-huh.
but um, how long did it take you to get from where you were before, which was pretty severe? I remember you were pushing words out, right? It
Right.
was just really, yeah. So it took you about how long?
Yeah, so to see fluency within this program while working with you, it took about 2.5 weeks to just see really life-changing results. Like really life-changing results. Yeah, it was at the 2 week to 2.5 week mark. Yeah.
And we'll circle back to talk a little bit about how much time you're putting in on a daily basis. But let's talk about some of those life-changing results that you've seen. I know that you have some specific examples of how it's impacted your personal and social life. So
Yes.
share with us a couple of those.
Right. Well, the big one is that, throughout my life, I've tried to have a dynamic relationship with my father, with my grandmother, with my mother, and when I would come home, like when I was in high school, they would ask me, "Oh, how's school?" I would just say, "Good." Didn't go in depth with anything, just so the depth of our relationships was impacted because I couldn't say anything fluently, right? It would actually cause me pain to even just get a sentence out in front of my father, right? And after starting to work with you, it's just like it flipped the whole thing upside down. I'm having conversations with my dad, and his reaction is even greater than mine. He's just in shock. He's like, "What the? Who is this?" Like, it's it's absolutely insane, and I'm just happy that I can actually bond with my father, because he's actually the hardest person to talk to. For some reason, it's not nerves or whatever. It's just for some reason. And if there's anybody that has a stutter out there, you know that there's certain people that you
Mhm.
can talk to, certain people you can't. And yeah, it's just absolutely life-changing. And I want to thank you again. I can't stop thanking you, you know. But yeah, yeah. Um,
So,
and as
go ahead.
and as far as my social life goes, I'm prior to working with Michael, I it would almost cause me a heart attack to even like think about going out to like a club or a bar or whatever, because if you I was already self-conscious around my family about how I spoke. So you can imagine me just going out is that times 10, right? So now I'm just like actually excited to go out and be around people, uh, get numbers, network with people, all this stuff that I was not even willing to do even 3 months ago, you know,
Mhm.
just yeah. So it completely flipped the way that I look at life, especially the social aspects of it, and it's added so much more fullness to it, you know.
So how are you feeling now in comparison with how you were feeling, say, a month or two ago?
Oh man. Self-esteem is at an all-time high. I would say even higher than it was in high school, and college. Just you feel this sense of freedom when you're actually able to say things, as ridiculous as the things that you want to say are when you're a young person, you want to get them out still, you want to like be able to just casually talk to somebody about nothing, or have deep conversations, late at night when you're with your friends, you're around a fire or something, sitting in chairs, having a good time. I I would be that guy that would just sit there and just respond with a couple words to what people were saying and just feel not fulfilled with being that small of a part of a conversation, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. What about your professional life? How is it, and how do you see it affecting your professional life now?
Oh yeah. So I just got this new job at Maxar, and I started around it was about a week or two before I started working with you, right? So the funny thing with
Mhm.
that is that my first week here, oh man, my speech was just a complete mess. I could barely get 3 words out before I started just chopping it up. And and my coworkers were pretty accepting of it. They're like, oh, okay, this guy has a stutter, and I assume that they also know people that stutter. So I come back the like midway through the second week, and I'm just speaking fluently, and they're like, oh, okay, so you probably lied about the stutter. Okay, I see how it is. You're a liar. But yeah, no, I get some mixed reactions on that, but doesn't matter. I'm talking fluently now, and I can actually provide feedback to things that my coworkers are saying and input ideas that I
Yeah.
would not even dream of saying before.
So then, looking forward, how do you think smooth speech, fluent speech is going to impact your career going forward?
Oh man. So prior to working with you, I I was in the mindset of, okay, I'm not able to speak well, so I'm probably limited to just working with my hands for the rest of my life, whatever it is. But after working with you, even just a few weeks, I can see myself like moving up in positions where the main part of the job is communication and networking with people, working with people, whereas before it was just like, okay, I
Mm.
gotta keep my head down and grind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's try to give people an idea, and you don't have to give or talk about all the specific things that
Mhm.
you do in our daily routine, but let's give them an idea, a realistic idea of how much time is required each day to get to where you are now? Just this would include audio listening, video watching, right? Which that, is more passive. But
Right.
then the more active things, how much time does that require? And then we'll put those two things together. So
Yes. So, did you want me to name the practices that I'm doing for active?
you don't need to name
Okay.
them, but you can just kind of summarize. I mean, you can mention a couple of the things, it doesn't matter,
Okay.
but you can just kind of summarize how much time you spend doing those things.
Right. So for active speech practice, I would say is roughly around 45 minutes to an hour per day of practice.
Okay.
And then when you combine that with audio listening, video watching, all of the passive learning, I would say that's anywhere from, you know, 35 minutes to 45 minutes. So combined, it's about an hour 45 to 2 hours per day.
2 hours per day. And
Yep.
that's realistic. Like that's something that you
Yep.
feel comfortable doing. Yeah.
Right.
And then and then informal practice. So we have kind of formal, passive and active, but then we have informal, which I consider to be when you're out there uh, practicing in public, that is just speaking to people.
Right.
I remember you telling me that you've just been getting out there speaking more and more. So if we could put a time on that, like, or you could just say, comparatively speaking, how much more time are you spending speaking to people now than you did before?
Oh man. So so the thing with this program is that you will get the initial results very quickly, right? And that's what happened with me. And so what you'll hear, what you'll be taught in this program in the initial phase is that you need to get out there and practice, right? Otherwise, the neurons won't solidify, they won't wire together so that you can make them permanent, right? And so you'll feel that, oh man, there's a lot of work to be done. There's all this, all that. It's going to be hard, blah, blah, blah. Once you see those initial results, it's almost like an avalanche that's rolling down a hill. It's like you won't even want to stop talking because of how great the results are. Or at least that was the way with me. I don't know how it is for um, the people out there, but for me, it was like you just you just want to go out there now and practice, right?
Mm.
But if I had to put like a ballpark range daily, I would say for the informal practice, it would be anywhere from I don't know 3 to 5 hours in total of speaking with people, and yeah,
Wow.
uh,
Yeah, that's good, man. That's a lot. Um,
yeah,
and that's important. In fact, I like the way that you articulated that so that, you got to do your practice, let's just say a couple of hours a day, which includes passive, right?
right,
But then what happens is a lot of people don't get out and do the informal.
mhm,
And so
right,
and so they're not able to really put into practice what they're learning. So one of the reasons that your progress has accelerated so much is that you really increased the informal practice. You're doing an average amount, if not slightly above average, but really about average in terms of about 2 hours, which is good, right? But then you're out there and you're putting it in the practice in real life. So it's just like learning a new language. You got to put in the time to learn some things. But where the fluency really comes in is just out having conversations with
yes,
people, right?
yeah,
And so you
mhm,
have to do it. And so it looks like you're doing a lot of that. And
yes,
and I would say, based on my 12 years of experience, that that part is really helping you to accelerate your progress. And it's wiring those neurons together, which is reflective in your speech, in your confidence, in your attitude, and all that stuff.
right.
Yeah, good.
I think I think it
Go
would
ahead.
be a great idea to possibly add some footage from my first session if you're willing to. I don't know, just so people could see a difference.
I
if you
was going
want.
to ask you if you were willing to, because people, yeah, a lot of times I'm
Yep.
telling you, people will watch you now and they won't believe where you were before. Like they can't
Oh yeah.
envision. And so I
Right.
was going to ask you,
Yeah, yeah,
can we show some footage? Because obviously seeing is believing, right?
yeah,
And it was even not surprising because I've seen it so many times before, but it's very inspiring. I want to say it's
yeah,
inspiring and rewarding for even for me to see it, like to just see
yeah,
you
yeah.
go from where you were that the first meeting or two to where you were just a couple of weeks later,
Okay.
right? It's it's inspiring for me. So
Appreciate it. Appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now as we wrap up this portion of the interview, because we want to kind of have you come back later and we'll talk about some individual things at another time. But what would you tell people who are out there who feel kind of hopeless? Like, I've tried coaching, I've tried programs, I've tried therapy, and they worked a little bit, or they were temporary, or they didn't
Yeah.
work at all. And they're like, I'm afraid, I'm skeptical, which is a good thing, of investing this much money. I don't want to invest a couple $1,000
Yeah.
because what if it doesn't work? Right? I want to
Right.
invest the time because then I'm going to feel stupid for investing that much money, for believing this in the first place, and then losing all that money.
Right.
And I totally understand it, which is one of the reasons why we do these interviews, because I want people to hear from real people the truth about, does this work? So, what would you say to people like that? It's just, I'm a little skeptical.
Right. So what I would say is this is kind of a hard one for me because I I knew that your program worked because I have previous experience from it and I've seen the results, right? That was when I bought the self-study program and I was really into it. What I would say to people that have never tried Michael's program is that number one, it really works. I I don't know how I could explain it further, but it really works. And even back then, I knew that Michael was a legitimate coach for this kind of issue because the things that he was saying um, about him having uh, a severe stutter when he was younger, he was saying things about it that just were things that only a person that stutters would know. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds exactly like what happens to me, right? And that's something that I haven't seen with a lot of other programs, right? I've actually tried one other program. It was a hypnosis program, and I'm not going to name the name, but it was a pretty hefty price, and I saw results within 2 days, and then they wore off extremely quickly, and then I wanted a refund, and it was a whole issue, and yeah, there's a few other programs out there, but this is just like the most one of the most comprehensive programs of any category, online, and it it really does work, but the catch is that you have to work, you know, the catch is that you have to work, and that's what I like about it. There's no cheat codes to it. It's straightforward to the point, and you will see results, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, man. Well, Jacob, I really appreciate you being willing to share your experience. Also, being willing to share some of those free clips, because
Yep.
that really, really helpful, man. That's
Hmm.
real blessing to people to be able to see the
Yep.
before and the after. And what we'll do is, as we continue to work together, a few weeks from now, a month from now, whatever, a couple months, we'll
Yep.
come back so people can see how you're doing then.
For
Right?
sure.
So it's not just temporary. Okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
So